You're listening to the Cars of Carlisle Network, podcast episode number 90. Stu Cook, Tinicum Magnetics, and owner of Corvettes
Cars of Carlisle
and GT500.
is your favorite internationally downloaded podcast about all things automotive. Darren and his CFC team are ever searching for interesting automotive happenings, real stories about real car people, and fun features to inform and entertain you. Each week, the Cars of Carlisle crew brings you show topics ranging from car shows to team adventures to auto racing weekends to behind-the-scenes human interest stories from car nuts that live across town, across the country, or even across the globe. Come join the road trip.
Today, join the CFC team as we visit Stu Cook, owner and founder of Tinicum Magnetics Incorporated in Shippensburg, Pennsylvania. In addition to his deep business knowledge of electronic coils and transformers, Stu knows cars. In the back of his commercial building, he has a hobby room where he keeps a couple of cars from his personal collection and where he details Corvettes and GT500 before car shows and long road trips. When it comes to silver and gold, Stu likes his anniversary Vets. In his collection, he owns a 25th Silver Anniversary Edition, well, you know it as a 1978 C3 in the Indy 500 livery, and a 50th Gold Anniversary as a 2003 C5 Vet. In addition, Stu owns an '07 Shelby GT500 with a rare paint combination. Ride along to hear about Stu's cars in this week's interview. It's time to head to Shippensburg. So, let's get revved up.
Hello and welcome back, Tubers, to your favorite informative automotive podcast. I am your trusted host, Darren, and this is episode 90. I'm excited for you to meet Stu. He's in Shippensburg, Pennsylvania, and he's been a car guy for many, many years, has a real affinity for great cars, and he is proud of his Corvettes and his GT500. He's going to tell you all about those today. So without further ado, let's go to that. But first, if you haven't yet subscribed, now is a great time to do that. What that does is it gives this podcast to you each and every week. It'll automatically queue up so that you can listen to it wherever you are, whether it be in your garage, in a commute, in the gym. No matter what, you will have us with you at all times. It's free and it helps us a lot. In fact, while you're at it, if you like what you hear, be sure to rate 5 stars, review. All of that helps us grow and provides greater opportunities for us to bring more and more great content to you throughout this 2020 year. So let's go meet Stu. Hello, Cubers. This is Darren, and I am here in Shippensburg at Tinicum Magnetics, and it's after hours, and I am with my new friend Stu Cook. Stu, thanks for taking time out of your long day. You already worked a 10-hour day, and you're sticking around at your office for me.
You're welcome, no problem.
All right. Well, and I know tomorrow's a possible ski trip day, so we'll keep this concise. But wanted to share with you, just Stu is someone that I ran into in Shippensburg, and we started talking cars instantly, and he has a 2003 50th anniversary Corvette, correct?
Correct.
And then, of course, a 78 Indy 500 Tribute Corvette.
That's 25th anniversary Corvette.
Yep, the silver, as you said, silver anniversary. And then, of course, your '07 GT500.
Yes.
So you've got a stable full of really cool cars. In fact, 2 of them are here where we are tonight, and I'm going to stop and see the Shelby another evening.
Okay.
Well,
glad to show it to you.
Tell us. Obviously, before we started our interview, we were saying about how it's always interesting to me how people become or know that they have racing fuel in their veins and what have you. You said maybe you were somewhere 11, 12 years old. You think when it all started for you?
I was probably pretty young. We lived on a farm, and I learned to drive on an Alice Chalmers tractor. You put it in gear, you let the clutch out. So I understood the clutch, and I think probably when I was about 12 years old, my brother would have been 14. He went out and bought a 1947 Chevy for $15. The block was cracked. And it was an external crack, and it had water leak. Well, we put the old plastic steel on it. It didn't work, but it helped. And we would drive that thing through the fields. And we had more fun with that car, and that's kind of how I learned to drive, and shift gears on that car, driving out through the fields and so forth and so on. And I just always enjoyed driving. And then my dad was in the excavating business, and we had dump trucks, Ford 800 dump trucks. And I was driving those and actually delivering loads of topsoil and gravel and actually asphalt, backing into asphalt spreaders when I was 16 years old.
Wow.
And shifting a 5-speed with a 2-speed rear, which is something don't hear much from car guys, but that's the way I was raised. And I always liked cars, and I actually learned to drive on a 1955 Buick Century.
Oh, wow.
Nice car.
Yeah.
It was a really nice car, too. And I ruined it, I'll say that. I totally ruined it, because that's what I got to drive afterwards. But had the 331 cubic inch nailhead V8 in it.
Yep.
And I learned to drive on that, and then my dad got a Ford Galaxy 500, and I graduated from high school, went on to college, and I guess it was my second or third year in college is when I actually bought my own first car, which was a 1963 Falcon, and I know that doesn't sound very glamorous, but it was a Sprint convertible.
Which makes that
and it had a 4-speed, it had a 260 V8 in it, and I drove that up until the time I got out of college, and then I went to Vietnam, came back from Vietnam, and then I bought a 1970 Torino, just a plain old ordinary, it almost looked like a grandpa car, I think. 302 V8.
Sure.
It was nothing spectacular. I got married, and I didn't really do too much with cars then. Looking forward to my careers and things like that, and it went forward. And it wasn't until about, I guess, I'm going to say probably around 2002 or 3, I started looking and thought I'd like to have a car, and I found that 1978 Pace car by accident.
Okay.
My son actually found it, and he said, he called Brian, my son-in-law, because he's already a car guy. He called him and he said, there's a 78 Pace car. And Brian called me and he said, Stu, I want you to go look at that car. I may be interested in that. So I said, okay. And I went and looked at it, and it had issues. It hadn't been taken care of real good. The left-hand door pillar was broken on the inside because the guy left a seatbelt laying there, and the fiberglass was all cracked. The interior needed to be replaced and everything. And I called Brian and I told him, and he said, well, offer him, I forget what it was, but he said, offer him whatever amount. And the guy, oh no, he said, I've already got an offer for way higher than that. I said, okay. We kind of let it go. About a month later, the guy calls me back and he says, you still interested in that Corvette? And I said, well, I thought you had it sold. And he said, well, the guy made me an offer, but he didn't have any money, as the way things go in the car world sometimes. So anyway, I called Brian. He said, not at all interested anymore. And I said, well, do you mind if I buy it then? He said, no, go ahead. Help yourself. I had my buddy. I've got a buddy, Dave Rocky, lives back in Bucks County. And this guy is genius with cars and fiberglass Corvettes, just absolutely genius. And he came and looked at it and he says, yeah, it's got some things wrong, but we can fix them. So I fixed the car, and then I was on my way, and I bought that, and I enjoyed the car, worked on it. Brian and I put a new interior in it. Dave fixed my pillar and a little paintwork here and there. And I started showing the car, and I joined the car club and having just having fun with it. And then I also had a Harley. And I was getting up in years, and I'd had some knee surgery and I'd had some back surgery. And I thought it'd be a good idea to maybe not ride the Harley anymore. I was going to go buy a Corvette. I was only going to get probably a C4. Well, I sold the Harley and bought a C5. I bought a 50th anniversary convertible Corvette.
And we'll have these pictures out on Instagram of Cars of Carlisle. Some beautiful cars.
Yes. And so anyway, the C5 was fun to drive. You could go on trips with it. I've been up to Vermont with it. I've been to Florida with it.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a nice car to drive. It's comfortable. It's got a 10 CD disc changer in there. People think I'm nuts because I listen to soundtracks from Les Mis and Phantom of the Opera and Jimmy Buffett. The next one will come up, you know. So I'm real eclectic when it comes to music.
Sure.
So anyway, I bought that car and had a lot of fun with it. And then the Mustang, I was at the Ford show. And we were actually looking at, I think it was in 1993. It's the first year that Mustang came back with the Cobra. It was still in the Fox body. And we, there's a picture of this red Mustang, 2007 Shelby GT500. And the guy wanted to sell it. And we talked and we talked and we talked a little bit and exchanged numbers. And finally, I called him the Monday after the Ford show and said, I'd like to come up and look at that car, but it's got to be what you say it is. I'm not going to come up there and buy this car and then find it. No, he says, I guarantee it's what it is. Had 1,500 miles on it.
Wow.
That would have been in 2009.
That's low.
Yeah, had 1,500 miles on it. So, bought it. We went up with a trailer, pulled it back. We actually stopped in northern Pennsylvania and got the tags and everything for it right then. And then I got I came back and I wanted to get a vanity plate on it. And my name being Stu Cook, my initials are SC. I thought SC, SHLBY would be a nice license plate. And then I got thinking about it and I said, well, does it stand for Stu Cook? Or does it stand for Shelby Cobra?
That's right.
Or does it stand for Supercharged?
Or all the above, yeah.
Yeah, all the above. So I got the plate, and people have actually asked me if they could buy the plate number from me, but I'm not interested in selling it. I'm not interested in selling the
You're
car.
Sitting on a gold mine there. Yeah.
Right, and I did take the radiator cover and the console cover off, and I sent it out to Carol Shelby out in Las Vegas, and I had him autograph both pieces.
Yeah.
I took out the prop rod. They had prop rods in them, and they would they would scratch the radiator covers. Well, I bought a new radiator cover and sent out. Took out the prop rod and put in hood struts.
Nice.
So it wouldn't scratch it anymore.
Yeah, smart.
And that is a fun car to drive. It is fast. It is fast. Not good for the street or for the road courses so much because it's got a solid axle in it. But boy, on a drag strip, it performs very, very well. I've never really put it on a drag strip. And everybody asks me, they say, well, why don't you put a pulley on it and get a tuner kit and put it on it? And I said, well, I'm in my 70s. My reflexes aren't quite what they used to be. So it's plenty powerful for me.
Sure.
It's a nice car, and I do enjoy driving it. So that's pretty much the history of my automobile.
Sure, yeah.
So
that's all right. Now tell us a little about what you do here at Tinicum. I mean, this is a company you started, and a lot of it came from your days in the Army and thereafter, right?
Well, some of the knowledge I have for it came from the Army. I was in the Signal Corps in the Army in electronics. I was in I repaired fixed cryptographic equipment.
Okay.
Much different than the equipment they have today. This actually had vacuum tubes in it.
Right.
Which was a good deal for me because when I was in Vietnam, I was always in an air-conditioned duty station. So, and I was appreciative of that, and I didn't have to worry too much about the enemy shooting at me or anything like that.
Right.
But and then I got out of the Army, and I did go to work for a transformer company for a while, but then I ended up selling excavating equipment, and because my dad had been in that business, and as time went on, the people that had that transformer company I worked for, they hired me to manage a little company doing pretty much the same thing. So I thought, well, instead of driving an hour and 15 minutes
you said 12-hour
each
days,
way, 12-hour days, I could probably do this for myself. So I bought a little machine, and I started with me and one machine in the basement of my house. And
now, did you walk away from that job, or were you trying to balance both for a while, or how did that all work?
I kind of walked away from it. I tried to talk to them about it, but they didn't want to talk.
Sure, okay.
They didn't want to talk. So I started, and I don't know if things just fell right or not, but I didn't go in, and spend a whole lot of money, I kind of went in and grew as I could, and I still don't want to get real big. We have right here now about 12 employees, 4 in the office and 12 out in the shop. But we do make transformers for the electronics industry. A lot of it's for the aerospace industry.
You were saying about this, those for the 737, the new Max.
Right, we're doing some parts that will go into 737 Max, as I understand it, and we've done. We worked with the Aegis missile program. We worked on that.
Yeah.
We've actually done some parts for NASA. They've never flown, but we do a lot of their pre-production and research work, things like that. I won't say we do a lot. We do a little of it.
Sure.
I actually did get a chance to get a tour of the John Glenn Space Center.
And I wondered, were you there for that
Cleveland.
launch of the special?
We were not.
Oh, okay.
That was
looking at your office wall here.
Yeah, I know. That was the. I can't remember. It's the one that exploded.
Okay.
But we saw the last. I did see the last successful launch of that. Was it the Challenger?
Yes. I
Challenger.
believe it
Yeah.
was,
The last successful launch of that
Okay.
space shuttle.
Wow.
We do some commercial work as well. We we're in the medical industry. We're in for the surveyors. They have the mine or the metal detectors
Sure.
for finding pins.
Yep.
We make components for them, and some of the things I don't even know. I mean, there's aircraft instrumentation. A lot
Sure.
of aircraft instrumentation we're involved with.
And you've been doing this 30 and a half years, I think you said.
30 and a half. I started on June 1st, 1989.
Good for you.
Yeah, so
Wow.
it's coming up on 30 and a half years. Time flies.
Wow.
Time flies.
That's significant.
Yeah. And now my daughter and son-in-law, they are in here pretty much running the whole thing for me. And we have an office assistant that takes care of us, and she is just wonderful. She dots every I, crosses
That's what
every
you want.
T. She's always here. You just couldn't ask for
That's
she wants to help, and she
Yeah.
wants things to go right. She's very, very, very good. Very good.
That's important. I know, well, your son-in-law is a car guy.
Mhm.
Are there stories that, and I think what's really great too is all the photos you've shared with me at Carlisle GM show, at Corvettes at Carlisle, having your grandchildren in the pictures and things with you. How have maybe the 3 generations, how have your vehicles perhaps brought you all together?
Well, we do a lot together. We actually spent back in June. We were at the Dover, the NASCAR race, all 3 of us. My grandson is I don't think this would be overstating either, a fanatical Joey Logano fan.
Wow.
He really is.
Wow.
He just loves Joey Logano.
Sure.
So, as I showed you,
Yeah.
that one picture I have right next to Carol Shelby's autograph on my Mustang is also Joey Logano's, which we took.
You said earlier it's probably got to be a one-of-a-kind combo.
Yes, that's right. That's right. But actually, as I think I told you before, that car is one of 111.
That's significant.
That's because of the color. It's the torch red. They made, I don't know, well over 2,000 of them, but they only made 111 that had the silver stripe on them
It's a beautiful combo.
in 2007.
Yeah.
So that makes it kind of special. But Bradley, my son-in-law, so he likes cars, and he always wants to go to the car shows. He's going to the Ford show with me and hangs out, and he walks around. He likes his NASCAR, but he likes trucks. He likes pickup trucks.
Okay. All right.
So, and I've been in parking lots with him, and we've been out to dinner, and he'll see a Toyota that's all jacked up, and he'll be laying down underneath and say, "Bradley, you're going to get dirty." He said, "No, I just got to see this."
Yeah, right.
He's 12 years old.
Passion is passion.
Yeah. So he likes it. But we do a lot. We do the Corvette shows together. We do Corvette parades. This year in the Memorial Day parade in Boiling Springs,
Okay.
we'll have 3 generations participating in the parade. Because it'll be me
Yeah.
and my daughter, who may drive, and my grandson will be in the middle school band.
Isn't that
So
cool?
we'll have 3 that are
That's
participating
great.
in that.
That's really cool.
And I'm very much pro-military, and
Sure.
I do the Memorial Day parades and the Veterans Day parades.
Good.
and
Great.
things like that.
And isn't your grandson that you told me when we were in the back of the shop where you have the vets, and you said your grandson's already asked his pop-up for the keys to the 78?
Yeah, he says, don't ever sell the 78, Papa. He calls me Papa. He says, don't ever sell the 78. He says, you have to keep that car. I want that car. He
Wow.
says.
That's got good taste, yeah.
So, yeah, he does. He likes it. Well, I think he likes the fact that it wins trophies occasionally, and he likes that.
You said it's taken home a trophy 10 out of 11 years, right?
10 out of 11 years at the Chevy show, or it used to be the GM show, GM Chevy show at Carlisle. Yep, 10 out of 11 years. Either first, second, or third.
That's a pretty cool stat right there.
Yeah, it is. It is. I think the one year I wasn't there.
Okay. That would. Yeah, it's hard to win when you're not.
Yeah,
so.
that could be the year I had surgery on my back.
How about that?
Yeah.
Now, your granddaughter, she like to go for rides and spend time with you too?
She does. She's not the car buff that.
Not like the grandson.
No.
Okay.
No.
Right.
She's not. She's into gymnastics. She likes her gymnastics.
Well, that takes a lot of time.
Cheerleading, and she's into that stuff. So, but she's not the car buff. Bradley, he's always ready to go. But NASCAR, for Christmas, he just got this seat that works with Xbox. I don't know how this works. You get the pedals and a steering wheel and everything for it.
Yeah.
Well, I just bought him the pedals and steering wheel for his birthday, so he can play on Xbox.
That's cool.
And I did get him you can buy steering wheels.
Okay.
I bought him a Joey Logano steering wheel, which was signed by Joey Logano for Christmas. So and he's walking around with his thing. He just loves it.
That's great.
That's great. He really likes it. He really likes his NASCAR racing.
That's
and he knows all the drivers. He knows all the tracks. He can tell you the banks on the tracks. He can tell you how long they are. He knows a lot of statistics.
Wow.
When we went down to Edders, Pennsylvania. When Joey Logano was there, he was signing autographs for a Planet Fitness that was just opening. Planet Fitness is one of his sponsors. And Bradley had all kinds of paraphernalia he wanted to get signed. Joey Logano was so nice to him, and they stood there, and they actually had a conversation, just the two of them. Because that was later in the season we were down there, and it was the playoffs were coming up for the NASCAR. And they're asking, Joey Logano is asking my grandson these questions, and he's answering them. And he says, you really watch all the races, don't you? And he says, oh, yeah, every week. Every week.
Wow.
So
mutual respect.
Yeah, and he's very, very, very schooled. And it was kind of funny there, too, because we were outside waiting in line, and there was a radio station there doing interviews. And it was during the week, and the DJ from the radio station came up and said, hi, having a good time? He says, you going to see Joe? Yeah. And he says, skipping school, aren't you? And he says, yeah. The funny part about it was on the news that night, and his teachers all saw it. Nobody said a word.
Wow.
Nobody said a word.
I'm sure he makes up for it being a good student.
He is a good student. He was just on the Distinguished Honor Roll.
Yeah, so. I think he gets a little pass now and again. So.
Yeah. So he does. Cool. He does.
Well, I want to, before we wrap, just kind of give you the final word, final say, but do you have a favorite, let me pause. With all three of your vehicles, really impressed with the low mileage that they still all have. But yet, at the same time, they're not trailer queens, and you've taken them on...
no, they get driven.
They're enjoyed. And like I said, you're taking them in parades and help support military events and parades and Memorial Day. But you've driven to Florida. You've driven to
Charleston, South Carolina, Vermont.
Oh, there you go. So, do you have a favorite road trip memory that you'd want to share with the listeners?
A favorite road trip memory. I think my favorite road trip memory would be the trip we took to Buffalo to the Tonawanda engine plant. Okay,
and I know we talked about you sharing that picture with me to put
right.
Out there. Yeah.
That's where they built the Corvette engines.
Okay.
So, and we were up, just that whole experience, driving up there and then getting the tour of that engine plant, that is just amazing. The robotics they have. I know these things fail and they have problems with them. I don't know how. With the quality control that they put on these things, I have no idea how it gets past them, but I guess it does somehow.
Wow.
But just seeing the plant and all the robotics, how everything comes down the assembly line, and understanding there's a bolt that's in the head and in the block of these engines, 2 bolts. They don't hold anything together. All they're there for is data. They're called data bolts. Has all the information, when it was assembled, who worked on it, what plant, all the information on the engines, and all their specifications that were met.
Is it inscribed in it, or is it?
It's actually screwed in. It's a bolt. And then you read it somehow with a reader. I'm not up on this technical stuff because I'm in my 70s. But
all right.
They're called data bolts. And they have all this information on it. And that, I was really
It's like a build
impressed
sheet,
by that.
essentially.
Yeah, I guess it is. Yeah, it's like the build sheet. Plus a lot more.
Sure, right.
Plus a lot more, too.
Right.
But even after that, and then afterward, we went to meet the Buffalo Corvette Club. This was a trip I took with the Cumberland Valley Corvette Club. And then we met the Buffalo Corvette Club and had dinner with them at a, and I forget the name of the restaurant, but it was one of those like Buffalo Wild Wings or something like that, and had a real nice time with them. They were so gracious and nice, and then of course before we left we had to go to the Anchor Bar. Everybody has to go to the Anchor Bar if they're in Buffalo because that's where Buffalo Wings really came from. So, but that's probably my favorite trip.
Okay.
That's probably my favorite trip. I mean, I've had other trips I've taken by myself, or I've gone to. Was down to Charleston. I met some fraternity brothers down there.
Okay. Yeah.
And we had a fraternity reunion down there.
That's a beautiful area.
That was a beautiful area. It was fun to go down.
Yeah.
But I just drove the car down, parked it, and I met with them. We walked around, and everywhere we went down there, we used Uber.
Right, sure. Yeah.
And it was easier to get around. And I did take it to Florida one year. I stayed in Florida for a month. That was the Corvette. That's the 03. That's usually the one I took my trips with, except the Mustang to Charleston. But I usually took the 03 Corvette and Florida, and then from there I went down to Naples, and we had another one of those fraternity reunions, which was they're always a lot.
At least
of fun.
you guys pick good places.
Well, I think we do, yeah. Or they do. I'm not part of it, but I'm always part of the. I'm a participant, but I'm not part of the planning.
That's okay.
So, that's what it is. But our Corvette Club, I haven't been on any recently. They have a lot of really, really, really nice cruises. They go up to Vermont every year, and this year they went from Vermont out to Cape Cod.
Wow.
And then back.
That would be a lot of fun.
And and they also have it's a very, very active club. We actually rent the Pocono Speedway for a couple days in the spring, and they put on this speed event which is it's a training event more or less.
Okay.
But you get to drive, you get to drive on the a little bit on the oval. Most of it's on the road track that they have up there.
The infield,
Yeah, they do that. We do a lot of parades. We do a lot of shows. We're always active at the Corvettes at Carlisle. We always have a tent there. I don't know if we were the largest club or second this year, but we're usually first or second.
That's pretty neat.
Club at Carlisle. And we also drive cars at the Carlisle auction. We'll drive cars for them at the auction.
Yep, I've done that too.
Yeah, which is kind of fun.
It is.
Until you get one of these, it's like, oh my gosh, this thing, nothing works on it.
Right. Oh yeah.
But it's kind of fun to go.
I've done that where you can't keep it running to get up across the block either.
Yes, I had a couple of them.
Yeah,
I had a couple of them.
Sometimes you got to challenge that way.
You do. But I'm usually pretty good at figuring out how to keep it going, and I can drive standard pretty well. Good. So.
Well, what last question that I just thought of, I wanted to ask you is, having all these years in cars and things like that, what has being a car guy meant to you as far as opportunity to meet new people, or like just if you had to tell your grandkids, hey, because I have always had an interest in cars for most of my life and owning some beautiful ones, that is, what would you tell them about being a car person, what it's done for you?
Well, I think the biggest thing that I see is the changes in cars from when I started to drive to what you're driving today. Because I remember getting in the cars, that 55 Buick, which was a pretty nice car when I started driving it. And I thought, wow, this is pretty nice, Well, today, the technology is just not, it doesn't handle as well. It doesn't stop as good. It doesn't just, and actually, sometimes I think there's too much on these cars. You know, you get the lane. It tells you when you're going out of your lane.
Sure.
It tells you when you get close to somebody. They have adaptive cruise controls and things like that, you know. And I think that is one. And just, I don't know, there's just something about getting in a car and liking the car and feeling the way it handles and feeling the way it's driving, and, you know, nice, you know, if you got your clutch is working nice and it shifts nice and you can, and just smooth.
You feel one with it.
You feel it one with the car. You really do. It just makes you feel good.
I shouldn't say invincible.
It's exhilarating.
It's exhilarating. It's a good way to say it. I shouldn't say invincible, and that's not a responsible thing to say for people that are new drivers, but to your point with that exhilaration, I always, when I'm having a good day behind the wheel of my vet, you just feel really alive.
You do. You get some of those nice spring days where it's not hot, it's warm. You put the top down on that car.
That cold, dense air is doing great.
Take a little cruise in it. It feels good.
Yeah,
it really just feels good.
Well, that's a great note to end on. Stu, thank you so much for being a fan of the podcast and for giving up your time. And I'm going to make sure I get over to see the Shelby.
Okay.
Another visit.
Yes, please do. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
well, thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome back to Studio A. A big thank you to you, Stu, for having us to your shop and to your hobby room. A lot of fun. In fact, can't wait to hang out with you this spring and perhaps take the Corvettes out. Wanted to remind all of you Cubers again that we have so much great content coming up. We're going to be heading back to Allentown to America's on Wheels. We're going to be heading back to Allentown here at the end of the month for America on Wheels. And there's just a lot of things happening here even throughout the winter months. So stay with us. We are excited to have you back each and every week. So thank you so much for being a fan. Continue to get the word out if you would. And we will be back for a new road trip next week. So for now, I'll say drive well, be well, and take care. Scott, a reminder to insert audible.com.